I went to my brother's birthday party with a handmade gift and a card that took me 2 days to write. As I handed it to him, he said, "Didn't you bring anything real?" His friends laughed. My parents laughed. I stayed quiet, ate my cake, went home early. That night, I deleted myself from the family album I'd spent years curating. A month later, they asked me to design the family reunion invites. I did, but I only sent them to one side of the family, the one that never laughed at my love. I don't know why I thought this time would be different. Maybe I hoped turning 30 would make Greg grow up. Maybe I thought he'd finally look at me and see something more than the weird brother who didn't play sports or chase promotions. I spent 2 whole days on that gift. 2 days writing a card that felt more like a letter. I wanted it to matter. It was late August. The backyard was packed. My parents had strung up lights and rented those fake wood tables. Greg's buddies were already halfway drunk. Some of them I recognized from high school. The ones who used to call me Dolly Darren because I liked to draw. When I handed him the box, I saw a flicker in his face. Not surprise, not joy, confusion maybe, like he didn't know what it was. He opened it and held it up like it was some school project. Looked inside. Didn't even read the card. He laughed short and sharp. "Didn't you bring anything real?" His friend Travis spit beer out of his mouth laughing. Some of them clapped. I think they thought he was being funny. My dad was nearby and laughed too. Mom shook her head and said, "That's Darren. Always bringing his art projects." I just nodded. I didn't say a word. Not even when Greg shoved the gift under the drink table like it was trash. I sat at the picnic table. Ate 1 slice of cake. I couldn't taste a thing. Then I told Mom I had a headache and left early. She barely looked up from talking to Aunt Rita. I walked home. Didn't even drive. When I got back, I sat at my desk, opened the hard drive labeled Family Archive and stared at it for a while. I had built that thing from scratch. I scanned hundreds of photos. Cropped, labeled, edited. I added music to old video clips, synced family voiceovers. I even fixed glitches in some of the VHS tapes when I was 17. I was the only reason those memories were alive. And that night, I deleted myself from every one of them. It took hours. I went photo by photo. If I was in it, I deleted it. If I could crop myself out without ruining the picture, I did. In videos, I muted my own voice, even if it meant cutting entire sections. I blurred my face in group photos. Erased captions with my name. Even the Christmas video from 2004 where I sang with Grandma gone. By morning, it was like I had never been there. No one noticed. 3 weeks later, I got a message from Mom. Subject line, "Need your help again." She wanted me to design the family reunion invites. Said she already told everyone my talented son was handling it. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I wrote back, "Sure. I'll get started." She emailed me an address list. 76 names. I highlighted half and hit delete. Greg's friends? Gone. Dad's loudmouth cousin who once said my drawings were girly? Gone. The uncle who called me art boy every Thanksgiving? Gone. The invites went out 2 days later. They looked beautiful. Minimal, elegant. A soft gold border. The words "family is what we make it" printed in cursive on the front. The reunion was in Indianapolis at a big park with covered shelters. That side of the family showed up strong. Aunt Jean brought her potato salad. My cousin Kyle gave me a big hug and said, "Glad you're still making stuff, man." No one asked where the others were. I set up a photo display. Dozens of pictures. Smiling faces. Holidays, birthdays, weddings. But none of me. It was like I'd never existed. And it felt good. For once, it felt like I was in control. That night, Mom called. She wasn't even mad at first. Just confused. She asked if maybe I sent them late or forgot the other addresses. I told her exactly what I did. "I didn't forget," I said. "I just didn't think they'd care to come." There was silence. Then she said, "Darren, that's not your decision to make." But it was. And I made it. Greg texted me a week later. Said, "Heard you're still upset over the gift thing. It was a joke. You're too sensitive." I didn't answer. They think I'm petty. Maybe I am. But I'm not their doormat anymore. 3 weeks after the reunion, I got an email from my dad. It wasn't long. Just 4 lines. "Darren, we saw what you did. I don't understand you anymore. You're not the son I thought I raised." I read it twice. Then I closed my laptop and didn't open it again for the rest of the night. But the real twist came the following weekend. I was at the grocery store, just grabbing some eggs and cereal, when I saw Greg. He was in the self-checkout line with his fiancée, Taylor. I thought about turning around, pretending I didn't see them, but I was too slow. "Darren," he said. "Got a second?" Taylor stood awkwardly to the side. She looked like she wanted to be anywhere else. Greg walked up. I could tell he was trying to act calm, but his jaw was tight. "We need to talk." I didn't say anything. He lowered his voice. "You embarrassed our family. You made Mom cry." I almost laughed. "She's cried about me before. Never seemed to care then." "You're being childish," he snapped. "Over a joke." "No," I said. "It wasn't a joke. It was years of crap boiled into one moment. And you showed me who you really are." He shook his head. "You're blowing this up. You've always been dramatic." That word, dramatic, hit harder than I expected. I took a step closer. "You mocked a gift I made with love. You made sure everyone laughed at me. You shoved it under a table like trash. It was weird, Darren. You made a shoebox of memories. Who does that? You didn't even read the card." He stared at me, silent for a second. Taylor stepped in. "Greg, let's go." He didn't move. Just stared. "You ruined the reunion." "No," I said. "I saved it. You just weren't invited." He walked out without another word. Taylor gave me a small look, half pity, half understanding, then followed him. But it wasn't over. 2 days later, Aunt Jean called me. "Sweetheart," she said gently, "your mom's really upset. She's been calling everyone, trying to smooth things over. She told your dad she wants to take the family album project back." My chest tightened. "She doesn't even know how to work a scanner." "I know," Jean said. "But she's angry. And I think she's scared. She knows what you've done. She just doesn't want to admit what they did first." That night, I checked the cloud backup. My dad had accessed the archive. I saw the login. He tried to download it, probably to make a copy. But it was locked. Password protected. And I had changed the password. The file name now? The family that laughed. They would never get those photos back. They'd never get me back. But even then, part of me wondered if that was really enough. A week passed. Then I got the letter. A real letter, not an email. My name on the envelope. My dad's handwriting. It was thick, like he'd stuffed more than one page inside. I opened it slowly, already bracing for another guilt trip. It was worse. The first line said, "We're planning a legal request for access to the photo archive. These files belong to the family, not just you." I had to sit down. They were threatening legal action. Not because they cared about me. Not because they wanted to talk. But because they wanted their precious images back. Their perfect memories. The curated lies where I was invisible and Greg was always the hero. The rest of the letter was full of passive-aggressive lines. "We trusted you. You've always been difficult. This isn't about the past, it's about the family's future. No apology. No ownership. Just control." That night, I made a copy of the archive, but a new version. I restored myself in just a few of the files. Not the smiling ones. Not the holidays or the group hugs. I left in the raw ones. Greg yelling at me when we were teenagers. Dad ignoring me during my 8th grade play. Mom walking out of the room during my art show Zoom call. They wanted memories? Fine. I burned them onto a drive. Labeled it Truth Real. Then I sent it to Aunt Jean. With a note that said, "For safekeeping. If they try anything, this is what they forgot I still had." 2 days later, Jean called again. "You didn't tell me you had this footage." I shrugged. No one ever asked. She was quiet for a while. Then she said, "You know what scares them? Not what you took. What you kept." That same night, I got a text from Taylor, Greg's fiancée. "I saw the video of him screaming at you in high school. That night he broke your sketchbook." I had no idea. I hadn't even remembered that clip was in there. But there it was, 2007. Me on the floor picking up ripped pages. Greg yelling about how I was making him look bad. Taylor kept texting. "He told me you two were close growing up." He lied. "I'm sorry." I didn't reply, but I didn't delete the messages either. A week later, the wedding was postponed. They told people it was because of scheduling issues. But I knew better. Greg called me that night. I didn't answer. He left a voicemail. "You win. Okay. You win. I hope you're happy." I wasn't. Not really. But I was closer. 3 months passed. I didn't talk to anyone from that side of the family. Not Mom. Not Dad. Not Greg. I still got emails sometimes, cold ones. Like, we'd still like a copy of the archive for Grandma's birthday. Or, don't make this harder than it needs to be. But I ignored them. I kept living. I started posting my art online again. Stuff I'd been too ashamed to share before. A few pieces even sold. Nothing huge, but enough to remind me I had worth outside of their world. Then, in late November, Aunt Jean called again. Her voice was shaky. "Your grandma passed away this morning," she said. My throat closed up. She'd been in a care home for a while. I visited when I could. Brought her prints of my drawings. She always smiled and said, "You see things other people don't." I asked Jean, did she ask for me at the end? Jean paused. She did. That crushed me. The funeral was scheduled for the following weekend. At first, I wasn't going to go. I didn't want the scene. But Jean called again, begging. She loved you. Don't let them take that from you too. So I went. The church was packed. Greg was up front, standing beside my dad like a damn soldier. Polished. Cold. When I walked in, half the heads turned. A few whispers. Mom wouldn't even look at me. During the service, they showed a photo montage. Some of my own work, cropped, of course. No mention of me. No trace of me. Then came the speeches. Greg went up and talked about family loyalty and honoring our legacy. I nearly laughed. When they opened the floor for anyone else to speak, I stood. I walked to the front, turned to face everyone, and pulled a small USB stick from my pocket. This, I said, is the real legacy. I plugged it into the projector. The slideshow started. Clips of Grandma and me. Her saying, "You're the quiet one, but you are the one who sees it all." Her hugging me, her laughing at my dumb jokes. Then clips of the family real ones. The messy, honest ones. Greg yelling. My dad belittling me. My mom brushing me off. Gasps. Murmurs. A few people stood up and left. Greg's face turned red. My mother looked like she wanted to crawl under the pew. I finished with one last photo. Me and Grandma on her porch last spring. She's smiling. I'm holding a sketchbook. The caption I added underneath. "Some of us love with quiet hands. Doesn't mean we aren't real." Then I walked out. They didn't stop me. They couldn't. Later that night, Jean texted me. She would have been proud. The next day, Taylor reached out again. They had called off the wedding completely. She said I couldn't marry someone who only knows how to love when people are watching. I sat with that sentence for a long time. It wasn't just revenge. It was truth. And truth hurts more than anything you can throw. A week later, I got another email from my mom. Just 4 words, "Can we start over?" I read it. Closed it. Never replied. I had already started over. Just not with them.